It is another week in the high school playoffs in Pennsylvania football. Please stay tuned as we will be covering through 1A and 6A and all the way through tonight on In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fanbase Network. Good evening, SFBN Nation, and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches right here on the Sports Fan Base Network. I'm Richie Blyweiss, and joining me this evening, as always, are my two wonderful co-hosts. I've got Corey Sharp, and I've got Mike Palmer, and we are so excited to be breaking down high school football action from across 1A all the way through 6A tonight. We have so many amazing games to cover, and we want to make sure that we get to East brackets, West brackets, and all of these amazing games. So we are not going to waste any time. But gentlemen, I'm going to say welcome to another week. We are just getting, it's a race to the finish here, guys.
Getting down to the nitty gritty. What you can really say. We're getting to see the best matchups now.
We are. We're seeing the teams that have really been competing throughout the year, and they're starting to really just unfold here, and it's fascinating to watch these games. And we've seen some close matchups, and we definitely want to talk about those tonight. We've got some great close matchups. We've got some blowouts, and we want to talk about all of them. So let's not waste any time. I'm going to ask my producer, Julian, to get right to these brackets. Let's get right to 1A. We're going to go 1A through 6A tonight, and let's take a look. You're seeing on your screen right now 1A, the East bracket here. And guys, I'm going to go through a couple of these scores from this round here. I want you just to jump in whenever something really jumps out at you. And Bishop Guilfoyle is our first team, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more in depth shortly. Bishop Guilfoyle really taking a big win over Claysburg-Kimball. That's 42-9, and we'll get to that in a minute. We keep going down. Juniata Valley, 19 over Northern Cambria, 14. Portage taking a surprising loss here to Ferndale, 14-12. A much lower scoring game than I expected from Portage.
That's the game I seen that popped right out of me, Richie, is because we were expecting a rematch between Portage, Homer Center. We covered them not too long ago, and we were expecting a rematch from there, but Ferndale pulls out a crucial victory and has Homer Center next week, a very tough matchup, and Homer Center's home as well.
Well, and Homer Center actually took their game. They shut out Purchase Line, as you see there, 41-0, while losing 28-6 over Montgomery. Steel High in one of the highest scoring games that we have had throughout this playoff series.
Basketball hasn't started yet.
Yeah, maybe this is the basketball score. Maybe they got it wrong. But we see 110 combined points there as they go over Fairfield. Williams Valley and Tri-Valley, not really a close one there. Williams Valley advancing. And then Delco Christian taking a shutout right here.
Yeah, that's really not surprising. Old Forge actually had a tougher matchup with Lackawanna Trail than Delco Christian. Delco Christian kind of struggled against Jenkintown to get past them to go to Old Forge, so that's really not surprising there.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into this. We said it at the top of our bracket review. We wanted to talk about Bishop Guilfoyle beating Claysburg-Kimball 42-9. Certainly not a close game here. You know, Bishop Guilfoyle really just they had the bye getting into this round, so it wasn't a shock when they were really going to do something drastic here, but just putting a real hurting on them here. No,
it really wasn't. They're pretty much the class of 1A. Them and along with some other schools, maybe on the western side, they were up 28-3 at halftime. They had 200-yard rushers. Joshua Yasilitis had 16 carries for 122 yards, 2 scores, as well as Mike Barish, who had 15 for 100 and a touchdown. Mark Conrad had 2 catches, went for 80 yards, both of them touchdowns. He also picked off 2 passes on the defensive end, so he really did it all. So they're going to play the winner of Homer Center and Ferndale, which could be a really good matchup. But like I said before, Bishop Guilfoyle, I'm not sure anybody really will challenge them on the eastern side, maybe Old Forge if they get there, but
this is the team, though, Corey, and I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but Bishop Guilfoyle, more than any other high school team that we've really seen here, they share responsibility. And, as I was going through and I'm looking back at the game, I realized the amount that they share responsibility. This was an interesting thing that I'd learned here. Mark Conrad, Josh Usilidis, you mentioned him before, playing quarterback, wide receiver, and running back at different points throughout this game. And then you look at just their rushing game, 10 different people rushing throughout the course of this game.
It's amazing to see. I mean, you see it in all kinds of sports now. I mean, if you're a baseball player, how important is it to play all kinds of positions? Basketball players, guys are guarding 1 through 5 nowadays. You see guys like Ben Simmons. In football, in especially the high school level, guys can do so many different things. Versatility, I think, is really what coaches look for now at most levels.
Absolutely. Usilidis responsible for 2 TDs in the air, 2 on the ground. Mark Conrad, 2 receptions, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Upcoming, Bishop Guilfoyle. They go to 11-0 overall, 10-0 in the conference. They're going to play Juniata Valley, as we mentioned next. That game is going to be at Hollidaysburg Neutral Site. That's the 17th. Time, just updated, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Juniata is coming off of a 19-14 victory over Northern Cambridge. Very close game. What do you see from this, Corey?
Like I said, Bishop Guilfoyle is pretty much the class of 1A. I don't think anyone's really going to challenge them until we see some of the teams on the western side, which we'll go through in a second.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. You mentioned it. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about the western side. Let's punch up that bracket for you so that you can check this out. Here's the western bracket. We're talking districts 7, 9, 10, and 5 on the west. So let's get that right on up there. Guys, jump out here with any games. There really weren't a ton of close games, I don't think, on this western side. You had maybe 1 or 2, but California. I'm just going to let you guys go ahead with this
western bracket.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like everybody took care of their business and wanted to advance to where they're supposed to be at. Especially Clairton. That's the team that I have my eye on out of this western bracket for the 1A state final, because Clairton really had an easy way going forward here, but their only competition was going to be Jeanette. And Jeanette blew out their first matchup in Montesson, and then they come back and only get a close victory against Rochester.
But that's still setting up for a very good game there.
Exactly. I mean, they get a close matchup against Rochester, but once again, that was the matchup I wanted to see later in the bracket, Jeanette versus Clairton. But Clairton's looking really good, playing great football at this point. And you scroll down, they're not even gonna play against any other less competition in Jeanette, because you got Kernsville putting up an impressive victory at Red Bend Valley. And Red Bend Valley is a great team. We covered them not too long ago in the trenches. They play great defense, and you've seen in their first matchup a 15-8 ball game, and then Kernsville shows up and why they're the number 1 seed.
But do you see Kernsville really getting to that point that they could be playing Clairton right at the end there to go on to the championship?
Well, they got to get past Ridgeway, my fault, because Ridgeway and Jayburg, that team is looking very good too at the 2 seed. And then you go down a little further, Farrell, an impressive victory over Cambridge Springs. And Cambridge Springs, we highlight them as one of our favorites too. But Farrell, once again, put on an impressive performance. And then Northern Bedford, the number 1 seed, goes against a very hot team in Windber, puts up an impressive 3-point win, and we have another very close matchup at the bottom of the western bracket.
I think the West is really shaping up to actually be a decent side of the bracket here. But I'm still leaning towards the East in this side, just being a little bit stronger. Well,
like we mentioned earlier with Bishop Guilfoyle, because not only does versatility help you out with the distribution of the ball, it's because you keep guys fresh, and the legs for the Bishop Guilfoyle team is just unstoppable. With 10 guys touching the ball at different periods of the time, they can utilize their strong points with their healthy guys going throughout this bracket. So, like we said, Bishop Guilfoyle is the favorite here.
Sure. Well, let's take a look at. Let's go back to the East. We're going to preview our game right now for the East. Old Forge versus Williams Valley. Old Forge coming off of just a dominating win, 41-0 over Delco Christian. Williams Valley beats Tri Valley 26-6, shaping up to be what could be a good matchup.
Yeah, well, Old Forge, so it's going to be a District 2 versus District 11 matchup. District 11 is probably the better district. It's probably goes District 12, District 1, then 11. So I would say District 11 would have the edge in Williams Valley. But Old Forge, man, They really had a good showing against Delco Christian, and I think that's going to be a pretty good game.
Well, when you look at these two teams here, Old Forge 11-1 overall, 8-1 in the conference. Their only loss coming to Dunmore, who good team in their own right. Williams Valley 12-0 overall, 9-0 in the conference. This was the amazing stat though. They've outscored opponents 562 to 142 this season. So they are really just putting a hurting on you offensively, and their defense is doing a fair enough job that their offense can just obliterate.
Bend but don't break. I guess that's what they go by.
So this game will be played, that's going to be in Tower City, November the 17th at 7 p.m. So be sure to look for that. Let's get to 2A. I'm going to come to Mike for this one, but before we do, let's take a look at our Eastern bracket. So thank you for punching that right on up there. Taking a look at 2A in the East. This is where you've got Newman Goretti, who we're going to talk about in a moment. Newman Goretti taking a shutout victory over West Catholic, 18-0 there. Palmerton takes the loss to Schuylkill Haven, 48-13. Southern Columbia, 59-14 over Central Columbia. Just, guys, big, dominating victories here.
Well, that's our favorite team right there in Southern Columbia, the team that's gone 90-7 in their last few years. I mean, Southern Columbia, we highlighted that matchup against Central Columbia. Well, Central Columbia only lost to them by 3 touchdowns not too earlier in the year, and we wanted to highlight that because they have the same name. And rival games like that, deep in the playoffs, who knows what could happen, but Southern Columbia gets it done once again, and they're pushing forward to a very crucial matchup against Newman Goretti, because Newman Goretti is looking phenomenal this year. We'll get into it a little bit, but...
Well, before they do that, they've got to go through Mount Carmel, and Mount Carmel is coming off of a really big win over Line Mountain.
Yeah, especially as a 6 seed, you see that matchup between Southern Columbia and Mount Carmel, the 1 seed against the 6 seed. I mean, a huge win against Line Mountain, but Line Mountain's a 7 seed, not really a crucial matchup as Southern Columbia had. In
you would think it'd be more evenly balanced with a 6 versus a 7, but Mount Carmel, like you said, comes out to play.
But how important, I mean, and we talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago when we really did our playoff review show. How important is the seeding here? Because you're looking at so many different teams across your district, across your classification. How important is the seeding when this comes down and when you're looking at this?
The more you look at it, you see more teams that snuck into the playoffs with a higher seeding that didn't really deserve it. And that's the biggest difference there. When teams deserve their ranking, you see why they produce. But teams like Line Mountain at the 7th seed, they deserved that 7th seed. Mount Carmel, I don't think they deserved the 6th seed, maybe a little higher seed. But they got matched up with an easy matchup in Line Mountain, second round. And we'll see what they're all about against a Southern Columbia team. But there's more teams that we wanted to highlight that are getting that 1 seed, like your Catholic with the 1 seed goes down to Newport with a 2 seed. So the rankings and the schedule, it doesn't go by strength of schedule or nothing like that. It usually goes by your league record or how many conference games you won. But we've seen it in last week. Lansdale Catholic had 1 win. No, not Lansdale Catholic. Bonner had 1 win and made the playoffs and played against O'Hara.
Right. I really don't think seedings mean too much. I just think it's how you match up against that team that week. It's just that's what it all depends on.
Right, and it's the combination of all the districts. So you're trying to squeeze in as much playoff teams as possible, and you sometimes get uneven matchups.
Couldn't agree more. Well, let's get a little bit of a closer look. Let's take a look. Newman Goretti takes the win. They're right in the top of that 2A bracket in the East. They take a big win, a shutout win over West Catholic. Newman Goretti is up 6-0 after the first half. They get an 80-yard touchdown. Javon Campfield to Tahir Hall. A failed 2-point conversion, and that seems to be the repeated story in this game. But, Mike, I'll come to you for this one here.
Well, Newman Goretti secures their undefeated season, my surprise team of the year, my sleeper team of the year, and congratulations to them. But West Catholic, Newman gets to finally do what West Catholic's been doing to them for the last few years. West Catholic is the team beating up on Newman to get the championships, but Newman Goretti gets their championship in the 2A PCL, and that's huge for them, and they want to carry this momentum throughout the bracket and match up with the Southern Columbia team, see what they're all about. But Newman Goretti has phenomenal athletes, and half of them are going to Division I. They have a Division I lineman that's going to Oregon, and the running back is going to West Virginia. So they're utilizing their talent to the fullest. winning championships and trying to get into that Hershey Park Stadium for the state final.
Let me ask you a question about just strategy. Now that we're in the playoffs, this is not time to be playing around. What do you think about the strategy of consistently going for a 2-point conversion? I mean, this is a game that ended 18-0, and the reason it ends 18-0 is because you have 3 failed 2-point conversions.
The more weeks we do the show, Richie, is the more it reminds me of little guys football, because CYO football, you can kick a field goal and get 2 points, and it's like the most impressive thing. If you can kick field goals in the 8th grade level, you're the best team. But I mean, Newman didn't really know what to expect at West Catholic. I'm sure they expected a win, but you never know with that type of matchup. So they just wanted to put much as points as possible, and maybe even show the other brackets that they're putting up these points, and maybe scheme on them a little bit differently.
Well, that's very fair. So West Catholic ends their season 8-4 overall. They go 5-1 in the conference. Newman Goretti stays perfect, 10-0 overall, 6-0 in the conference. They're going to play Schuylkill Haven. That's November the 18th at 6 p.m. Schuylkill Haven, just to kind of give you guys a quick little synopsis on them, 8-4 overall, 5-0 in the conference. They are coming off a big win, 35-point spread there, 48-13 over Palmerton. You really have to watch out. They've got a running back, Kobe Brish. You have to watch out for him. 40 carries, 332 yards, and 6 TDs in the last game.
The team has put up over 100 points the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. So.
Yeah. Let's look at the 2A West. Let's look at the West bracket. If you can punch that up there, thank you so much. Perfect. So let's take a look at the West here. Chestnut Ridge and Berlin Brothers Valley, big score deficit there, 52-17. We've got Kane and Clarion. That's a 1-2 matchup. Clarion is the 2, taking this one by a touchdown. Greenville taking down Sharpsville 28-14. They'll go on to play Wilmington, who beat Reynolds 49-0. Reynolds really disappointing there after a 32-point showing the week prior. That was a really disappointing one. Let's go down to District 7. You've got Steel Valley moving on after a 42-0 win over Burgettsville. Riverside, big win here again over Avonworth, 42-14.
Very, very interesting matchup as we were talking about Steel Valley and Riverside now. Yeah. I mean, Steel Valley's been playing great football the entire year, but this is the interesting part about this bracket, this District 7 matchups we got. You got Steel Valley and Riverside, and then Washington has been a great team all year. And that's what we want to see. Whoever comes out of this bottom half is the team that's going to be facing in Newman Goretti's or the Bishop McCourt and League in Our Valleys. So.
Well, I thought we would see something a little bit more out of East Allegheny. They had a decent win over Mohawk. I thought we'd see something out of there, but they take the loss to Washington in a really sad showing, 54-7. North Catholic, Sarah Catholic, 35-14 there. So our West bracket is really taking shape here, and it's exciting to watch as we go through 2A. But let's take a look at a game coming up. We're going to go back to the East. We're going to go to Bishop McCourt, Legionnaire Valley, the Rams. Guys, what are we thinking about this? You've got 2 good teams. Bishop McCourt coming off of a big win, 35-14. You've got Legionnaire Valley. They're coming off a 39-14 win. Where do you see these 2 teams? This could be a good match in 2A.
Well, this is the key matchup that we're looking forward to next week because they play similar teams. They haven't got to play each other yet, but they do play similar matchups within their schedule. So they're used to seeing different competition. But when you get matchup like this in the third round of the playoffs, looking for that clinch win, teams like this really shine, and we'll see what team shines better. But Bishop McCourt has been looking very good in the last couple of weeks. And that's when their season really took off. When it comes to October and you want to win those games to get in these seeding playoffs, that's what Bishop McCourt really turned it on in the month of October.
But Legionnaire Valley is not a team to scoff at. They are a team that is an undefeated team, 12-0, 9-0 in the conference. They are hardly a team to scoff at, and a team we've discussed here because of the dominating victories that they have put out.
Yeah, I mean, if any team you really want to match up against Legionnaire Valley, at any moment, it would be Bishop McCourt right at this moment because Bishop McCourt is just playing hot football right now. And Legionnaire Valley, once again, they are undefeated, like you said, but it's the playoffs and a very interesting matchup.
Well, certainly a game we're going to be discussing next week right here on In the Trenches. That game's going to take place November 18th at 7 p.m. That's going to be at Mansion Park Stadium out in Altoona. Let's take a look at the East bracket for 3A. Let's punch that up there. So we look at the East bracket for 3A, and this is a smaller bracket to begin with. We've got some teams advancing with byes just to get right through. We see Lansdale Catholic taking a win over School of the Future at the South Philly Super Site, and I think that was a little bit of an upset. I think people expected School of the Future to really do a little bit better there. New Hope Salisbury takes a loss to Conwell Egan, and that goes down 42-14.
Yeah, Conwell Egan had 5 rushing touchdowns in that game, so they really pounded New Hope Salisbury, and that was a rematch from earlier in the year, a game in which Conwell Egan won, and they took it again.
For sure. Notre Dame takes the loss, no surprise, to Palisades. They'll move on to play Lehighton, who took an impressive victory over Jim Thorpe. Another team we've talked about here makes an earlier exit than I expected them to, quite honestly. They lose 36-14. Scranton Prep continues their dominating ways. 54-7 over Lake Lemon. They're going to play against Loyalsock. That's going to be, they beat Danville 35-6. Decisive victory there. Middletown at the bottom of the bracket in District 3. Middletown takes a big win. They're the number 1 seed. They played Bermudian Springs. That was impressive. And then Wyomissing, 13-9 over Littlestown. But really, just some impressive games going on in 3A over here. Guys, anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I mean, I know Wyomissing has experience going in this 3A state final. They won a state championship not too long ago in 2012-2013 year, but Middletown is really a strong matchup for Wyomissing if they want to continue that success that they had in the state finals. But that's a very tough matchup down at the bottom of the bracket.
Yeah, that's a matchup we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. But before we get into that, let's actually move over. Let's go to the West bracket. And let's take a look at the West. We're going to do this pretty quickly here as we go through 3A. Alkippa takes a nice win, 14-7 over Beaver. Two teams we really haven't talked a whole lot about. Very low scoring in that game. Quaker Valley is taking a big win over Seton LaSalle, 40-7. So I'm really looking for Quaker Valley to just put a hurting on Alkippa.
Alkippa is the favorite in this bracket. They didn't have a bye week, which was surprising. So they're playing a little extra games. They played against South Park their first week. It's not a no sleeper. Alkippa is the number 1 team. They are the team to beat in this district bracket. But like you said, Quaker Valley is playing great football right now. A tough win at Seton LaSalle, but
I think we've set up a good matchup here in this District 7.
How about where the matchup is at Heinz Field?
Right.
It's a special treat.
That is a very special treat. I might have to take an SFBN road trip out for this one. Go down to the bottom of the bracket as we go 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Huntington, 53-7 over Juniata. Forest Hills takes the victory, 17-14 over Central. And last 2 games here, we've got Karn City, Punxsutawney that we're going to get to in a little bit. Karn City, 42-14, and Sharon takes the win, 21-14 over Mercyhurst Prep. Let's take a look. Let's go to Clarion University's Memorial Field. Karn City defeats Punxsutawney 42-14, 2 teams that we have talked about here on In the Trenches. They capture the District 9 title in this one. But before we go to this game, Corey, I want to go to the previous game because Karn City takes the win 47-0. Now here we are 42-14. It's like Punxsutawney learned nothing.
Nah, they learned nothing, and they actually took a 7-0 lead in this game, but again, no match for Karn City, who scored 42 unanswered. Punxsutawney scored a garbage touchdown at the end. Dalton Baham rushed for 4 touchdowns, and so Karn City is going to have their hands full, though, with Sharon in their next matchup, because Sharon took down a very heavy favorite in Mercyhurst, who was undefeated. They were... and that was a 21-14 game, so I think that's going to be a great game. It's not like Sharon was a powerhouse this year. They finished 7-3 in District 10, and District 10 isn't great. So well,
Punxsutawney really is the story here, I think, because they just cannot score. They bookend the scores with a touchdown at the start, a touchdown at the end, and they just cannot do it. I think they've got a good quarterback, Dylan Ishman, wide receiver Tyler Richardson. I think they've got a good connection there, but they just can't get it going against this Karn City defense.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that how good Karn City is, and it doesn't matter how many times. You probably play them 10 times, Karn City would win 10 times. Dalton
Baham scores 4 touchdowns on the night, scores 28-7 at the half, so it's certainly not out of reach. It really isn't.
But that next matchup, Sharon is coming in sky high off that win. Mercyhurst, if you look at their scores this year, they ran through District 10, and that's a huge upset.
Yeah, I certainly think we've got big upsets
So there's
ahead.
no favorite here in the 3A state final with this. If we're looking at this paper right now, who would you pick?
Especially the western side.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
Wow.
I
The
would
western side
say
is
Karn
tough.
City right now. They've had the best showings as a
Well, you have to look at Karn City just because of
Scranton
what
Prep.
they've done to these last couple
right
teams
on the
here.
eastern side. Scranton Prep,
Sure.
they just keep yawning their way to the final.
Sure. Well, upcoming Punxsutawney coach Brad Wright, they end their season 4-7, 2-3 in the conference. Karn City head coach Edwin Canto, they go on. They're now the District 9 champs. Congratulations to them. They, as you mentioned, Corey, they're going to face Sharon High School. That is November the 17th at 7 p.m. Sharon High School, though, coming off a close win over Mercyhurst, only a touchdown separating them. Mercyhurst was undefeated this season. Let's take a look at a quick preview. And that's going to be Wyomissing versus Middletown, going over into the East here.
Yes, this is going to be the District 3 title game. You have Middletown coming in undefeated at 11-0, and Wyomissing is 10-1. Real interesting matchup because Wyomissing actually struggled earlier in the year, if you want to say that. Yeah, again, they're 10-1, but the first two games of the year, they played Pottsville and Garden Spot, who right now combined for a 6-15 record, and they beat both of those teams just by one possession. I believe the Garden Spot was a 34-33 game, and you would think that a team as good as Wyomissing would kind of blow them out, but it wasn't the case. But it seems to be Wyomissing is catching steam right now, and they're going to be facing a very good Middletown who pretty much ran through District 3 this year.
Absolutely. So you've got Wyomissing, you've got Middletown coming up. That game is going to be Thursday. It's a special Thursday game, November 16th, 7 p.m. That's going to be at Hershey Park Stadium. So worst case scenario, your team doesn't win. You get to at least get some nice chocolate as a parting gift.
Yeah.
So we are going to go on to 4A. We're going to take a look at the East bracket, and we're going to talk John Barsham. We're going to talk Imhotep, but we're going to do that right after this break. So stay tuned to us right here on the Sports Fan Base Network. You're watching In the Trenches.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us on In the Trenches on the Sports Fan Base Network. We are going to get right back into the action here. We're going to move on with 4A classification. Let's take a look at the East bracket. Before we go on, we'll talk Imhotep and John Bartram, but let's take a look at this 4A bracket here in the East. You've got Berwick taking a big win over North Pocono. They're the number one team, so that's not really too surprising. They're going to take on Valley View next. Valley View was a 3 beating a 7. They took a win over Coughlin 40-7. Cardinal O'Hara got a bye in the last round. They had to play in, but got a bye in the last round. So now they're going to go to the Northwest Philly Super Site at 6 p.m. on the 17th. They will take on Imhotep, who beat John Bartram 33-0.
Mike has a little something to say about that.
And Mike has a lot to say about that, and we're all looking forward to that. Belafonte shuts out Johnstown. They move on to play Sellings Grove. They took a shutout victory over Shikellamy, which I don't think we've ever had on this show, and I don't think I've ever said that word before, so that's new. Pottsgrove takes a big win over Upper Perk. That was actually a great game, but Pottsgrove takes the win 38-14 there. Bethlehem Catholic will be their opponent at Springford.
Bethlehem Catholic's back.
Bethlehem Catholic is back, Mike says. They took a big 42-7 win over Saucon Valley. But let's get back to this here. Imhotep, they shut out John Bartram, as we just said. Undefeated, 33-0. They win the Public League 4A championship. They're 6th overall at the Germantown Super Site. This is this past Saturday. And Imhotep and Fumbles just work well together in this game, Mike.
Yeah, Imhotep and Experience works together as well. So, they get the win 33-0 here, and this has been the matchup we've been all wanting to talk about. We talked about it last week, but something happened with our computers, and we couldn't get the feed. So I'm going to say it again. Imhotep wins 33-0. Bartram looked great in the first half, only holding to 7 points. End of the first half, it was a 7-0 game. Each team didn't even have 100 yards total. But as we go in here, Imhotep had 9 sacks against Bartram's quarterback in Mohamed Dalabate. It's just that's his dominating defense when it comes down to it. Tyke Smith for the Imhotep had an interception, a forced fumble, a sack, and a touchdown, and that forced fumble led to a 44-yard run in the ensuing possession. So, Imhotep came to play, and this is when it gets down to experience, and when you say you have a year experience, it really makes a difference when the game gets called with 6 minutes and 47 seconds left. Experienced teams do not let that happen no matter what the score is. So, John Bartram, you might want to figure it out when you get to the playoffs next year because your game got called on you early. That is not good for experienced teams, if that's what you call yourselves. Anyways, Bartram had 16 penalties. Imhotep had 13 penalties. Not really a very clean game from each team, but that's what Imhotep does against teams that don't really have experience winning close ball games. They do the extra stuff at the end of the play because they know they're going to win later in the ball game. But when Bartram retaliates, that's what happens. You get 16 penalties and lose the game. So Imhotep advances. We all expected it, but they got O'Hara. That's another easy matchup for Imhotep. So we'll see what happens.
Mike, talk to me about the penalties because when I looked at this game coming in, the penalties are the thing that when you get to the playoffs, you just can't have it. So how do you, as a coach, and you would know this, but how do you prepare for your games next week so that you don't have 14, 15, 16 penalties called against you?
This is what good teams do. This is what probably happened. Imhotep started the fight first. Bartram retaliated. The team who retaliates gets the penalties. And you see teams that know they're going to win, and it's a championship attitude at the game. They don't care about the penalties. This is exactly what happened to Del Valle versus Kings my senior year. My best friend wasn't allowed to say what's up to me before the game. That's a championship attitude from a championship team. Del Valle just won the MAC championship. It took them a year. But that attitude delivers throughout years and experience. And we had a lot of penalties, both Del Valle and Kings, but Del Valle doesn't care. They do that extra stuff just like Imhotep does. They learn from great teams, and that's exactly what happened. When penalties are this high, it's not just like, false start here and there. It's the extra correct activities that are going on in the game, and Imhotep nailed it, and they played a perfect game defensively. You don't really see the offense here. You see the penalties and the defense, and that's the game changer.
Well, very well put. And I do love that Kings tie. If we can get a shot of Mike and his Kings tie right there, that is a great tie he's got right there representing number 9.
Yes, sir.
All right. The living legend.
But
right here.
Bartram, amazing season. It's just when it comes down to it, your game gets called a little early, 6 minutes to play.
Yeah.
Due to chippiness, that's not really a good way to end your season. Should have followed it out a little bit better. Bartram, great season. Hats off to you guys. Excellent. You guys great feedback. I love you. But Imhotep, a little bit too much. Get him next year.
It is. It is a great season, but it is over for Bartram. They end the year 10-1, 5-0 in the conference. Imhotep Charter, 10-1 now, 5-0 as well. They're going to play Cardinal O'Hara on Friday. That's November 17th at 6 p.m. O'Hara coming off a nice win over Bonner, 42-7. They actually had a bye last week, as we mentioned, so they're well rested coming into this game. But certainly a game that we have to look forward to. I think that's actually shaping up to be a nice matchup. And I don't know if I would like O'Hara as much in this game if they weren't coming off of the bye. So I think O'Hara and Imhotep really have a good match coming up.
I mean, like you said, we're allowed to look ahead. That Imhotep and Berwick game, man, that's going to be a great game.
All these games on the eastern side for this 4A. I mean,
do you really see Imhotep beating O'Hara that decisively that we could talk about that?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, O'Hara's a great team. I mean, easy win against Bonner. Bonner had one win to play in. But that bye week, I'm sure they're preparing for Imhotep, even though they're playing Bartram. I'm sure O'Hara's coaching were ready for Imhotep, and they're taking that full bye week to prepare for this.
I wouldn't have been surprised to see the entire. You mentioned the coaches being there. I wouldn't have been surprised to see the entire Cardinal O'Hara team and coaching staff show up at that Imhotep
that's
John
championship
Bartram.
attitude right there.
I wouldn't have been surprised if it did happen.
Huge upset win against Imhotep. This is O'Hara's chance, but I still got Imhotep getting that win, and then another interesting matchup with Berwick and Valley View. I mean, Valley View has 3 losses, but all of them were within 13 points. But I was talking to a couple of Berwick guys I know, and they like their speed, their skill, and when it comes down to when the marbles are on the table, he said Berwick is ready to play.
All right, well, we have a very intense East bracket. Let's take a look at the West, though. We have some really good games over here. We're going to start up with top with Berks Catholic, as you see there on your screen. Berks Catholic takes a big win over Gettysburg, 48-18. They're going to go against East Pennsboro, taking a win 45-14. Bishop McDevitt, right around here, 43-22 over Shippensburg. Northern Lebanon goes down over Lampeter Strasbourg, 34-19. So that sets up a nice 2-6 matchup. I would absolutely see Bishop McDevitt pulling through there, and I could see them going on to play Berks Catholic. That'll be a fun matchup to watch. We go down into 8, 10, and 7 right here. Cathedral Prep takes a big win and thus gets an extra bye. So they're now going to go right into the next round. They don't even have a game coming up. They take a 56-0 win over Cathedral Prep. South Fayette and Montour. Montour takes the victory here, 35-27. And our last game, Bell Vernon Bell Vernon takes the loss to Thomas Jefferson in a shutout, 27-0. So Cathedral Prep at this point just sits and waits in the wings.
All hands on deck for Cathedral Prep and Berks Catholic coming in that championship game on the western side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Montour is just a sitting duck at that point against Jefferson. I don't see that really for them coming up. But let's go back to the East. Let's take a look. Valley View Cougars versus the Berwick Bulldogs. Valley View 9-3, 4-1 in the conference. Berwick 10-2, 5-1 in the conference. Now this is the startling comparison here of points. Valley View averaging 40.2 points compared to Berwick's 32.3. Only a difference of about a touchdown, but when you get to playoff time, that point differential really becomes crucial. That 1 point becomes vital.
Well, Berwick's known as the Bulldogs for a reason. They got that defensive line really going out there. I mean, that's their difference maker when it comes to they run their spread offense. They're off the field in under 2 minutes. They're that type of offensive team. But when it comes to the defense, they shut the run down and they can really play because they're defensive line play. But this is going to be a war between Berwick and Valley View. Like I said earlier, Valley View, 3 losses. It's only combined 13 points, so it's not really saying too much, but I was talking to the guy I know from Berwick, and they're really excited there, and that's a football town, as I covered in the preview show. Berwick is excited, and they're ready to make it throughout this bracket because of their skill and their speed.
Well, you mentioned Seth Vernon, their running back, averages 111.2 yards per game, 22 touchdowns this year. So that is a dominating running back right there.
Berwick starting quarterback wasn't there for their first couple matchups. They're 10-2. Those 2 losses came in the beginning of the season. The starting quarterback's back for Berwick, and he's got the offense clicking.
Well, that's going to be Valley View versus Berwick, November the 17th. That's at 7 p.m. there. Location still to be determined. Let's move on to 5A. We're going to take a look at the East bracket here. It's on your screen right now. Taking a look here, Springfield is going to advance. They take a 28-7 win over W.C. Ruston. They will play Upper Dublin. So Springfield, Upper Dublin will go as Upper Dublin beats Academy Park.
Yeah, Upper Dublin, they hung on 17-12 over Academy Park. They were up they allowed a fumble recovery for a touchdown with under 4 minutes to go to make it 17-12. So they should consider themselves lucky they got out of that unscathed.
It looks like Springfield's the only Delco team left over. You don't see Ridley, none of those teams. So Springfield holding down Delco right there, and I mean that's unusual. You usually see the Delco teams deep in the playoffs, but not this year.
Upper Dublin takes an exciting win here, 17-12 over Academy Park. I didn't see that coming, truthfully. Messed up my bracket for sure. But I thought a good game for Upper Dublin. Marple Newtown takes a win here, 24-18 over Upper Moreland. They'll go on to play Unionville. That'll be a home game at Unionville on the 17th at 7. Unionville took a big win, 39-8 over Strathaven. Moving through a little bit quicker here, Wyoming Valley West moves on. They'll play Whitehall. Whitehall had a 34-17 victory over Southern Lehigh. Archbishop Wood, a local team by us at our studio here, takes the shutout win over Ryan, 48-0. They'll play Simon Gratz at Northeast. Gratz with a 6-point differential in their win over Mastery Charter North. That is it for the East bracket review. But let's go back. Let's go to Friday night. Marple Newtown beating Upper Moreland. They take down the Golden Bears by 6 points. It's a 24-18 victory here, and Marple Newtown advances.
Yeah, it was an upset. Marple Newtown came in as the 7 seed. Upper Moreland was a 2 seed, and just the week before, Upper Moreland put up 57 points, and Marple Newtown obviously was able to hold them to 18 points. It was a back-and-forth game in the first half, but Marple Newtown really took control in the second half. They went up 24-12 in the fourth quarter.
Well, Upper Moreland had the lead at one point in the second.
Yeah, they did. But like I said, Marple Newtown really, because they relied on Marlon Weathers, who rushed for 182 yards. Usually Marple Newtown is known for their passing with Anthony Paoletti, who's one of the better quarterbacks in District 1. But he had a tough game. He actually left the game with an injury. So Paoletti really didn't have as good a game as probably he would have liked, but they really utilized Marlon Weathers out of the Wildcat a lot. He scored a touchdown out of the Wildcat.
Two on the night.
And Upper Moreland and Marple Newtown really held Upper Moreland's 2 stars on offense, Starlin Barr and Caleb Mead. They really held them in check. I think they each had one big score. Mead had a kickoff return, but that really didn't come back to haunt Marple Newtown as they actually had the ball with 5 minutes left off a Barr fumble, and they were able to run out the clock from there.
Well, Upper Moreland gave up the lead as the half concluded, and the Tigers just would not look back, wouldn't give it back to the Golden Bears.
Upper Moreland, they were undefeated coming in this game, and to go out like that to Marple Newtown to a number 7 seed, that's probably the seniors have to be hurting right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Upper Moreland, excuse me, though they are eliminated from the playoffs, they will host Happero Horsham on Thanksgiving Day. It's an annual tradition there. Marple Newtown, they go to 8-4 overall, 6-3 in the conference. They take the win. As we said before, they're going to go on to play Unionville at Unionville High School. So a rare home playoff game for these teams. That's going to be Friday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Unionville, don't forget, coming off a big 39-8 win over Strathaven. They're 12-1 this season, 6-0. Who do you like in that game, Corey?
I'm sorry.
Between Unionville and Marple Newtown.
It depends if Marlon Weathers can run the ball, and if Paoletti can be at the level we all know he can be. He's leading in yards and touchdowns, and he broke his coach's record. Who knows? Sometimes it's all you need. If you can control the clock in the playoffs, you never know. And I think those guys, if they play to the level they're capable of, I think they could pull it off.
Let's go back to the West. Let's put up this Western 5A bracket here. As we take a look, we'll look at 6, 8, 10, 7, and 3. Is our bracket up there? We good to go? We are good to go. Thank you very much. We take a look. Hollidaysburg is going to come into the playoff picture here. They have had a bye in the first 2 rounds. They are finally going to get a game against Grove City. Grove City here taking down Meadville. There it is. That was Mike for those of you watching at home. Grove City takes down Meadville 35-14. As I said, they'll go against Hollidaysburg. Penn Trafford takes down Upper St. Clair 35-14. They'll take on Gateway. Gateway's coming off big wins over McKeesport and as well as Woodland Hills in that first round. Then we go into District 3, who did not play in the first round of tournament play, but Harrisburg takes down Exeter Township decisively here, 46-14. They're going to go against Governor Mifflin. Had a really big win. All these District 3 games here have big point spreads here. You see Governor Mifflin over William Penn, 56-7. You see Manheim Central over Waynesboro, 55-0. They'll go on and play Cocalico, who took a big win over Cedar Crest, 42-7. District 3, what we're just seeing here is just dominant scoring. You are seeing high scores coming here, and I really am looking forward to the matchups that'll produce when they do get down to the top of that bracket. You're going to have an exciting championship match here.
Harrisburg is the #1 seed for a reason. They have the best player in Pennsylvania, arguably, in Michael Parsons. He's the best running back, but Governor Mifflin steps up to the plate when it comes to playoff play. I said that last week on the show, but Governor Mifflin's a team to watch out. It's a very close matchup against Harrisburg. However, Harrisburg is the most respected team out of this 5A Western bracket because they have the best player and they're the #1 seed. So, I mean, Governor Mifflin, don't expect them to pull out a surprising victory, but watch out for that game because Governor Mifflin plays really well in the playoffs and knows how to adjust to that type of atmosphere. But the game we want to talk about that got Gateway to this point is Gateway McKeesport. That's one of the most interesting games we've seen all year because McKeesport is on a Cinderella story type of deal, beating West Allegheny in the first round. We all expected West Allegheny to win, but they pull it out. McKeesport plays against Gateway, and Gateway wins by a touchdown. A very disappointing loss for McKeesport, but Gateway, with an amazing win, goes against Penn Tafford, and Penn Tafford looks really good, but Hollidaysburg sitting up there just waiting.
Yeah, two weeks off though. I don't know if I like that against especially a team of the caliber of Grove City. That could be tough.
I think when you get to the playoff times, anything more than 1 week having a bye. I heard a lot of people Sports Talk Radio around here. We're near the Philadelphia area. You hear a lot of people that are already getting excited about the Eagles and talking about what could be with a bye. How much time is too much? When do you start resting guys? When do you let guys take full games off? And I think when you look at Hollidaysburg, you have a similar situation here potentially brewing. You've now had 2 weeks off. How much are you practicing? How much are you actually watching film? What are you doing with your alternate days? I think
you have to stay
2 weeks
sharp.
off is scary.
Right. Are they hitting in practice? I mean, you don't know. You have to stay sharp somehow. No pun intended.
Yeah, it's different between NFL and high school. High school, they got to still go to school and get their grades up. And, sometimes you get distracted when you're not doing that football activity every day. So you're right. You don't know when your schedule switches up. It could be a little devastating. But Hollidaysburg, they obviously deserve that 2-bye stretch there. So we'll see how they go against Grove City. But we scroll down a little further after the Governor Mifflin and Harrisburg matchup. Whoever wins that matchup still has a tough competition in Manheim Central in the Calico match. So, I mean, it could go any way here at 5A. The higher the A's go, the better the matchups get. And it's just exciting. Every bracket keeps getting better and better. So,
well, let's go up one more A then. Let's go to 6A. There's a good transition for you. Let's go to 6A here, and let's take a look at our East bracket. It's up on the screen here for you. Our 6A bracket is just huge, and we talk about, we really are dealing with the best of the best here. Pennsbury takes a big win over Neshaminy. I had Neshaminy going a little bit further into this. I didn't think Pennsbury would be that big of a challenge for them coming in as an 8th seed, but we talked about it at the start of the show. Just the seeding really just does not matter here. Pennsbury advances. They'll play Coatesville, who really just puts a hurting on Downingtown East. Two teams that are just close together in proximity. Coatesville 61-42 over Downingtown East in that game. We keep going with District 1 here. Penridge moving on after a shutout over Perk Valley.
And that's crazy too because they're the 7th seed again over the 2 seed, and they beat them 25-0. And you see Pennsbury beating the 1 seed in Neshaminy 36-17. It's like they're just disposing of these
The
teams.
seeding does not matter at this point. The seeding does not matter. We want to keep going down this bracket here. You can see Garnet Valley is now waiting for their match against Penridge. They took down North Penn. Parkland, who we have talked about, I feel like we've talked about them every single week on this show. Corey loves Parkland. They take a big win here, 52-10 over Easton area. They're going to take on Freedom. I don't see Freedom as a 6th seed really being a challenge here for Parkland. I could see Parkland taking this whole thing, and that's what I had predicted. I think, Corey, you were on the same page.
According to Mike, I am.
According to Mike, Corey has the whole thing
We
going.
got the matchup we all been waiting for: Parkland and St. Joseph's Prep.
Absolutely. St. Joe's Prep, and we're going to talk about St. Joe's Prep in a moment here, but St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle College High School, 17-3. I expected a close game, but I expected a game of much higher scoring. So when I saw the 17-3 score come up at the final, I really was surprised. I thought St. Joe's Prep would put more on, but maybe they're just saving it.
We cover LaSalle St. Joe's Prep game every time they play, but this time we didn't really get too in depth with it. But St. Joe's Prep shows why they're the most dominant team in that 6A PCL division. I mean, 17-3 win against a very good team in LaSalle, just dominance. And then they play against Northeast. I mean, you don't really see these the public league teams beating the Catholic League teams. You've seen it maybe when Sharif Floyd and Aaron Wilmer,
some of my boys.
Washington beat LaSalle, but you haven't really seen it unless Northeast can pull one off against Prep. Prep's looking really good, and once again, Parkland. So that's a matchup you got to mark down. I'm going to actually mark it down right now.
Do that. You do that right now. Northeast, takes a shutout victory, 41-0 there over Philadelphia Central. And as you said, they've got St. Joe's Prep coming up. Prep really could just take this whole thing easily. They are a nationwide ranked team. But let's go back up a little bit here in this bracket. Let's talk about North Penn for a moment here. North Penn.
That was Ari's pick, by the way.
That was Ari's pick.
He's, what is he, 15-2 now in his 5 and 6A picks?
Yeah, his
That's
bracket's
He's
busted.
probably going to be texting in
It's
soon.
over.
So.
Where's
It's
them
done.
red X's?
He's done. His bracket is done. That's
Busted.
it.
It's
We are getting a
busted.
note from our producer
You
here. It
better
says
hope you're
Ari's
Western.
bracket is busted. That's Julian. If Ari is upset watching this, that was Julian that handed us that note. Thank you very much for that note. North Penn, stunning loss here, 36-35. The North Penn Knights, they lead going into the second half, 35-7. And then just can't pull it out. What happened?
We've seen this 28-point lead before, right?
Whew.
25 lead. Where did we see
28-3.
it?
Seen it
Where
too
do we
much.
see
I don't know.
that?
Sometime
Richie?
it was last February.
I know you watch the most football out of all of us.
All of us, absolutely.
What's the big game the NFL plays,
The
Rich?
first Sunday in February.
You want to talk the Super Bowl? You want to talk the Falcons and
Yeah,
Patriots?
yeah.
That's what you want to talk
Do you
about?
remember that?
I didn't realize we were going to go NFL here.
So
I didn't realize we were going to go all the way out there.
North Penn does a total Atlanta Falcons impression and blows a 28-7 lead with 9 minutes and 9 minutes left in the third quarter. I mean, that's just devastating for North Penn. But the reason why this happened is because North Penn gives up a fumble on their own 8 after giving up the touchdown. You can't have a fumble on your own end zone setting up an easy score for Garnett Valley. And then on the ensuing kickoff, they fumble on the kickoff, and Garnett Valley makes it 35-28. So this is just a devastating loss for North
Kind
Penn.
of ruined a really good day for North Penn's Justice Henley. I think he caught 4 touchdown passes in the first half. And I don't know if he's a senior or not, but
yeah, Henley had 8 catches, 163 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I mean,
touchdowns.
4 TDs.
the quarterback,
Unreal.
DePaul, went 13 for 19, 250, and 4 TDs. They just didn't do anything after that.
nah. And it's just a shame, that just kind of went to waste. It's like that's not talked about. Obviously, we are, but
Football is an odd sport because when you do have the lead, sometimes your game plan and everything else just goes out the window because you forget how to win ball games, and that's exactly what happened in North Penn. You see it. Garnett Valley didn't give up at all. And we talked about the Super Bowl matchup between Patriots and Falcons. Falcons blow a 25-point lead with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter as well. It's just unbelievable comeback. But shout out Garnett Valley's quarterback and Gallagher, leaving them down the field and getting the 2-point conversion with 2 minutes left.
what a gutsy call too by their coach.
A very gutsy
I
call.
don't know if I would have done that.
Right.
No, and that's the question. When you get to this point, what do you do if you are the coach? Your team's saying go for it, but I feel like as the coach, you really have to be the smart one. You have to be the one that plays this level-headed. He doesn't, and it works out for him, but if it doesn't work out, if that 2-point conversion doesn't work out, and they could have kicked the chip shot extra point, we're talking and having a very different conversation here today, guys.
Right.
A very different conversation.
They lined up at the PAT, but the coach decided to call a timeout and change the whole script, and they went for 2, and they run a little triple option deal. Fake to the fullback, quarterback takes it, fakes the pitch, plunges in, and Garnett Valley gets the win.
Yeah, well, that's one of those decisions you make. If it works out, you're a genius, and if it doesn't, you should be fired.
Yeah. North Penn, head coach Dick Beck, they take the loss. They end their season 9-3 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Hats off to them. Great season. Garnet Valley, they're 11-1 overall, 8-1 in the conference. They will move on. They're going to play Penn Ridge. That's November the 17th. Time still to be determined on that one. Penn Ridge coming off a 25-0 win over Perk Valley. We're going to do one more game. As we said, 6A is big, so we've got a lot to cover here. We're going to stay with the East. 2 weeks ago, the Neshaminy Redskins beat Pennsbury Falcons 21-0. Now, we get to playoff time. Everything changes in the playoffs. Pennsbury takes down Neshaminy in this rematch 36-17.
I mean, we want to call this a revenge win because you said 2 weeks ago Neshaminy beat Pennsbury, but Pennsbury turns around and switches up the style on them and runs down Neshamony's throat. Usually Pennsbury is a shotgun-based spread offense, but they switched it up and went back full-time Pennsbury and went two running backs and ran it all day. So Nissan Robbins, with 20 carries, 123 yards, huge game from him. And then their other running back, Andrew Basalaga, 18 carries, 172 yards. But that's just coaching adjustments. We mentioned it on the show, and it's not really, people don't really take notice to it, but that's just unbelievable coaching strategy by the Pennsbury Falcons right there, because 2 weeks ago they get shut out, and they're like, you know what? It wasn't working. The shotgun spread wasn't working. They totally changed offensive schemes, and look what happens. They win by a decent margin here. And I mean, Neshaminy had a cold start, 2 fumbles, a snap on a punt that led to a safety. You can't have that type of play. So cold start from Neshaminy, but Joel still had 2 touchdowns in the first half. Their starting running back to make it 16-15, and it completed both 2-point conversions. So Neshaminy was up, but that switch of the offense really surprised Neshaminy, and they couldn't stop the run, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, the start of the second half, Pennsbury goes off for a 44-yard TD run, and they don't look back. And Pennsbury got a tough matchup in Coatesville, who had a very impressive win against Downingtown East, who's been a great team. But Pennsbury switches up their total strategy, and Neshaminy wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, well, Neshaminy ends the season now 10-2, 6-0 in the conference. Pennsbury moves on. They're going to play Coatesville. That's November the 17th. It's a 7 p.m. game. Coatesville's 11-1 overall, 6-0 in their conference. They're coming off a big win, 55-22 victory over Truman.
Yeah, they're 11-1, and they're the 4 seed. So like we keep talking about, the seedings mean nothing, and every team really in District 1, if you get in, you're pretty good.
Well, they've had a let me finish this here. 55-22 over HS Truman. 61-42 win over Downingtown East. I look for this game coming up here, Pennsbury-Coatesville, to be a high-scoring game. You could easily see 70 to 80 combined points in this game. This is a big over right here. Let's take a look at the West bracket right now. Let's take a look at the West bracket. It's up on your screen. This is the West bracket for 6A. Starting at the top here, Cumberland Valley, big win.
Still a winning ball game, Cumberland Valley.
Wow, yeah. Cumberland Valley, 62-9. They're going to take on Hempfield, who had a close victory over Dallastown, 31-28. Manheim Township shuts out Central Dauphin, 28-0. They're going to have a home game versus Wilson, who beat Red Lion. We've talked about Red Lion in the past. 42-7. That game, Wilson taking that. I can see Manheim Township really doing some damage there. Pine Richland, we talked about them a lot this year. They're going to play Central Catholic coming up. And then State College, who we talked about early in the year. They've got big running back out in State College there. 48-12. They take the victory over Erie High School. They're going to take on Delaware Valley. That is Delaware Valley coming off of a big win. But, man, Delaware Valley, State College. That will be an exciting matchup. I'm thinking State College and Pine Richland has to be coming up, though, as you look at the bottom of that West bracket.
Yeah, that's State College is pretty high-powered. We've covered them a couple times this year. I think one game they scored over 70 points. They won a game 70-7. So, yeah, look out for State College. I mean, they can score at will.
Yeah, well, let's do a little bit of a quick preview here. We're going to go back to the East, though, as we do this quick preview. I want to look first, Coatesville versus Pennsbury. Either of you guys can jump in. Pennsbury's coming off a 36-17 win over Neshaminy. We just talked about that. Coatesville coming off 61-42 win over Downingtown East.
Well, Pennsbury looks like they're ready for the matchup because you see them in their first matchup against CB South, a very good team, and then bounce back right to Neshaminy, switches up their entire game plan. So Pennsbury's definitely got the the X factor edge, but Coatesville is looking really good on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, just putting up massive amounts of points. So that's a really good matchup. But I think Pennsbury has the X factor edge here, and they could pull it out, but just by the pure fact of just crazy things happen. I think Pennsbury has that stuff on their side this week.
Absolutely. That game is going to be at Coatesville, November the 17th. That's at 7 p.m. Penn Ridge versus Garnet Valley is another game we got to look at. We've got one more preview coming up, though. But first, Penn Ridge, Garnet Valley. Penn Ridge coming off a shutout win over Perkiomen Valley. It was 25-0. Garnet Valley pulls out a squeaker, 36-35. Talked about that one.
Well, Penn Ridge lost to North Penn throughout the season, but Garnet Valley just beat North Penn by 1 point, an impressive defeat. So, I mean, that's the biggest difference here. Which team can really make the adjustments to how they figured out how to beat North Penn? That's just the base mark of what these teams want to look at in order to scheme and prepare for this intriguing matchup.
That game is at Garnet Valley, November 17th at 7 p.m. One more game to look ahead to, and that's a game in the East we talked about just a little bit ago with St. Joe's Prep versus Northeast Prep, coming off a low-scoring game we talked about at LaSalle College. It was 17-13. Northeast shuts out Philadelphia Central 41-0.
The only thing Northeast can hope is Prep looks forward to this.
We can hope for snow.
I mean, snow, inclement weather.
Lightning,
Yeah.
something.
Them not showing up.
It's just
The bus breaking down. What can they hope for?
St. Joe's have just been playing phenomenal football. I mean, they lost to, I think they have one loss on the season. It wasn't even in the state of PA. So, I mean, the only thing Northeast can hope for is just play sound defense, and hopefully St. Joe's Prep doesn't look ahead and look for Parkland next week.
Northeast,
if not, St. Joe's Prep's going to handle it.
Yeah, Northeast hoping for a giant meteor to hit right before this game. That's Saturday.
They don't want to hurt themselves.
Yeah,
They'll take everybody out.
Take it out. Whatever they got to do at this point.
Hey, crazier things has happened. Northeast took a game against an undefeated Newman Gretty without signs of hesitation. So Northeast is a very sound program, but St. Joseph Prep is just a little bit better.
Hey, if they can hang in, the longer they hang in, the more pressure is on St. Joe's. It's not like Northeast is a bad team by any stretch. I mean, they're a very solid team. Just like I said, the longer they hang in, the more pressure is on St. Joe's.
You know that I'm in need for a break when these two are the voice of reason. So stay tuned to In the Trenches right here on the SFBN.
Hi, I'm Marty Bystrom, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. In my experience in Major League Baseball, I know how important it is for high school athletes to gain exposure. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the sports fan-based network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Pennsylvania is a big state, and there's great high school football action happening each week to discuss.
Let's deep. Got a man. Touchdown.
Join me, Richie Blyweiss, and my fellow analysts, Corey Sharp and Mike Palmer, on In the Trenches on the Sports Fan Base Network. In the Trenches, the only show dedicated to all 12 PIAA districts in Pennsylvania, coming to you every Monday live on Facebook. Tune in for information, stats, analysis, and some great previews and predictions. Be sure to submit questions and comments using hashtag #InTheTrenches or comment live during the show. So be sure to watch In the Trenches on the SFBN for all you need to know about high school football in the Keystone State. I'm Richie Blyweiss, reminding you, stay classy and be good to each other.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the sports fan-based network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
All right, welcome back to In the Trenches on the Sports Fan Base Network. You are in for a special treat tonight. As we get through these playoffs, 1A through 6A, we have decided that tonight our favorite analysts are going to make their predictions for what they think about. And you can see they're working hard. Mike is still thinking. But you can see we are working really hard. We're going to go 1A through 6A. Who we think our winners will be and where we think that final match will go. So let's start off with 1A. We've got some really good teams here. You've got Bishop Guilfoyle still in the mix. You've got Ferndale. Kerwinsville is still in the mix. But I'll come to you first, Corey.
All right, well, 1A, I guess my final four on the east side would be Bishop Guilfoyle and the Old Forge. I just think those two teams are the best on that side. On the west, I got California, and I'm going to go Kerwinsville. I think those two schools are really good. So that's my final four, with Bishop Guilfoyle over Kerwinsville for the 1A championship.
And I don't think that's a bad prediction at all, but I'm sure that there are people at home that do. So what I want you to do, please, as your watches, I'm sorry, Corey, I want you to put, I don't think so, I think it's fantastic, but I know at home there are people that are disagreeing, and I want to hear it. Please, with your disagreements, with your agreements, with your questions and your comments, make sure that you're taking this time as you're watching on Facebook. Comment. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why you agree with us. We would love to hear what you have to say. So make sure you're commenting throughout the show, and especially at this point, as we make these bold predictions, sure to go wrong.
Just don't use the experience card.
Don't use the experience card. That's right. That's right.
For my 1A, I'm agreeing with Corey on the eastern side with Bishop Guilfoyle and Old Forge. And for the west side, I'm going Clareton and Kerwinsville. So I agree with Corey on the bottom part of western, but I'm going to go Old Forge beating Bishop Guilfoyle just because I got some Old Forge ties. And yeah, Old Forge is going to win the entire 1A state final.
There you go. 2A, Newman Goretti, a big team out here. Certainly Clarion, Steel Valley, Legionnaire Valley is the team that I'm thinking is kind of that sleeper. Even though they're a 1 here, I think they're a team that people are looking past because they're a mid-district team.
Yeah, however, on the top half of the East, I would love to see Newman Goretti. Obviously, that's a school near and dear to us and close to here. But I have Southern Columbia taking on Legionnaire Valley on the east side. And then the west, I like Clarion because I think they pulled out a really big win over Kane. I think they can carry through and face a high-powered Steel Valley team.
Steel Valley has been dominant in this entire tournament, though.
Yes. So I would have Southern Columbia beating Legionnaire Valley to take on Steel Valley, who will beat Clarion, and I have Southern Columbia winning the whole thing.
Yeah, me and Corey agree once again on the Eastern PA bracket and Southern Columbia and Legionnaire Valley. I think Southern Columbia is just one of the best teams out here, so I think Southern Columbia is going to proceed throughout the Eastern bracket. And on the Western side, I actually switched it up a little bit. I got Wilmington and Steel Valley, and let's go with Steel Valley over Wilmington. So we got Southern Columbia versus Steel Valley for the 2A state final.
All right, let's move on to 3A here. 3A, we've got some big teams. Palisades, clearly, Middletown, Karn City had that impressive 42-14 win. Huntington beat Juniata. That was a big 53-7 win. Aliquippa, small points, but big teams. They got a big game coming up at Heinz Field. Where do you guys see 3A? Corey, I'll go to you first on this.
Well, I would say if Scranton was on the top half, I would have picked them and probably Middletown, but they're probably going to play each other in the final 8. So that's going to be a big game, though. It's going to be between Scranton Prep and Middletown. But
yeah, I could see Scranton Prep and Middletown in 2 weeks for sure.
That's a tough match. I would go Scranton Prep. I don't know. I mean, honestly,
I'm thinking Scranton Prep is going to play the Palisades. I can see that coming up at the end.
That's who. But Scranton Prep is going to have to beat Middletown to get there.
Oh, I think they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
honestly think it's a coin flip, though. I think Middletown is just as good.
I see Scranton Prep going the entire way here.
Right. So exactly.
Let's go to the West.
Scranton Prep is going to beat, like you said, Palisades, and then the West, I'm going to go with Karn City and Quaker Valley, with Karn City going to the championship game, but falling to Scranton Prep.
I think you're just excited as we talked Karn City so much today. It's just on your brain right now.
They're my team too. Them and Parkland.
Them and Parkland, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mike?
I like Scranton Prep going all the way, and Lee Heighton making it out of the top part of the Eastern PA there. So
You think they beat Palisades?
Yes, I do. I think Lee Heighton gets the win next week, and then loses to Scranton Prep later for the 3A state final. But however, we go to the West. I still have Aliquippa going all the way, and Huntington making it out. So that Final Four matchups is Lee Heighton, Scranton Prep, Aliquippa, Huntington, and I think it's going to end up Scranton Prep versus Huntington for the 3A state final. So.
All right, let's move on to 4A here. We're starting to get into your bigger teams. We got Berwick, Imhotep, Pottsgrove, Bethlehem Catholic on the east side. On the east side there. Corey, where are you going?
I think I'm going to go Berwick, Bethlehem Catholic as my 2 on the east.
That's smart.
And then the West, I don't think you can pick against Cathedral Prep. I don't know how you can.
Berks Catholic is having a great year, though.
Well, I think they're going to play each other on that side, but I just don't think you can bet against Cathedral Prep right now. Talk about experience. They won it last year.
Sure.
So I'm going to pick Cathedral Prep over Berwick in the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, I got Imhotep going all the way over Bethlehem Catholic there, so they're my 2 out of the east, and then yeah, we have the same 2 out of the west, Berks Catholic and Cathedral Prep. You can't go wrong with Cathedral Prep, as you said. I mean, they have a bye week. They go out and just plaster University Prep 56-0. I mean, they're a very good team. But if Thomas Jefferson gets the win against Montour, who knows what that team's about, because they're former champions as well. So Thomas Jefferson, they go against Cathedral Prep. Anything could happen, but I still got Cathedral Prep winning it all until they face Imhotep in the final. Imhotep wins it all for it.
Make sure you're commenting on this board as we get into these higher classes. We know that we've got some big schools we're talking about, and I'm sure we're making some predictions certain to go wrong here. But let's go to 5A. Let's get to that classification. Springfield and Upper Dublin, I don't really know that I see them taking a big hike here, but I do see Archbishop Wood actually going a little bit further. They're at the bottom of the bracket, that District 12. I could see Wood. They've been really good. They got a little bit of a bye in that first round there. Took a win over Ryan. I think Wood really could be a big team here, and I'm actually going to go with Marple Newtown as a 7. I think Marple Newtown could be that sleeper team to go against Wood in the end there.
I think, Richie, you just read my mind.
Did I really?
You really did, because I really
2 hosts, 1 brain, right here on this show.
Well, I really like Marple Newtown.
Yeah.
And I think they won with Paoletti having an off game, and I just think that's huge for their confidence. I mean, if you can win without playing your best in the playoffs, I mean, what's it going to be like when you are playing your best? So, Marple Newtown against Wood, but I do have Wood. I think Wood is superior to Marple Newtown, so I have Wood.
But they have to get past Gratz first.
And I think they will. Yeah. So that's on the east side. On the west, I have Harrisburg and Hollidaysburg.
Well, Hollidaysburg, remember when we talked about this earlier in the show, Hollidaysburg is coming off that 2-week bye, and we talked about that idea of too much rest, not enough rest. So I don't know about Hollidaysburg. I think they're going to be tired.
Tired? I don't know. I mean, I feel like
I think they're already in the off season.
Well, they're already rested. Why would they be tired?
No, I think their minds are
is
tired. I think that they just have not had that practice.
So like
time.
you like flipping the switch is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Mentally fatigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I feel like if they can get past that game, they will get to they will play Harrisburg on the western side.
Harrisburg has to be.
And Harrisburg, I have Harrisburg. Harrisburg against Wood.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, Marble Newtown has their toughest matchup this week against Unionville. So I mean, we gotta hope that your bracket doesn't get busted that week. But I mean, I got Springfield going out through that division right there, and then playing against Archbishop Wood. I mean, Archbishop Wood is the most highly decorated team in this bracket. I got Archbishop Wood going out of the Eastern, and then Hollidaysburg versus Harrisburg. You can't go wrong with those 2 teams. I mean, they're just phenomenal. I got Harrisburg moving on with with the help from Michael Parsons, the best player in PA. Archbishop Wood versus Harrisburg. I got to go Archbishop Wood just from the pure experience and just having a better team. I mean, Archbishop Wood 5A state final champions.
All right, let's get to 6A here. We're in our last bracket as we go through. You have to look at Parkland here. You know, they're coming out of that District 11 bracket. You have to think that Parkland is going to be that challenger for St. Joe's Prep. I don't see how anybody but St. Joe's Prep can take all of 6A. And, you know, it's no offense to these other teams, especially when I look at a team like Pine Richland over in the West, look at State College. I just think that St. Joe's Prep this year is just so dominant. I don't even think it matters who you put them against. East, West, I think St. Joe's Prep is the team to beat.
Yeah, they've won in a variety of different ways, too. So that really bodes well for them as a battle-tested team playing in the Catholic League, one of the best conferences probably in the country, to be honest with you.
But a St. Joe's Prep Parkland game would be a fascinating game.
That would be huge. I mean, that would be a pretty juicy match.
That would be a get your popcorn ready kind of game.
We'll cover it. We'll cover it.
Absolutely.
So I have St. Joe's Prep and Coatesville on the eastern side. I think Coatesville, with that offense, they can put up points. And on the west, I'm going to go with Pine Richland and Cumberland Valley, with Pine Richland coming out on top on the west. So I have Pine Richland going to play St. Joe's Prep, and St. Joe's Prep taking it all.
That's a big one. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing different there is I got Garnett Valley beating Penn Ridge and advancing forward to play St. Joe's Prep later on. St. Joe's Prep advances throughout the eastern bracket, but yeah, Cumberland Valley, can't go wrong with them. I mean, Manham Township and Wilson, that's a really interesting matchup as well, but Pine Richland looking like a great team. A rematch against Pittsburgh Central Catholic. They blew them out last time, an unexpected game. But, yeah, that's the only thing Pine Richland really has to get over, this hump. But I got Pine Richland beating Cumberland Valley and St. Joe's securing the 6A state finals. So I'm representing Philadelphia Catholic League tremendously tonight.
All right, well, you just heard our picks and predictions. I want to give you some picks and predictions from our CEO, Ari Bluestein. And I'm reading this off of the board here, so I apologize for not looking right into the camera here. We've got 2A for, these are Ari's picks, mind you. 2A, he's got Newman Goretti. 3A, Middletown. And again, comment on that Facebook Live board so that you can yell about Ari's picks too, because I have some questions here. 4A, Cathedral Prep. Has them falling to Imhotep. I don't know about that. What do you think about that one, guys? What do you think
I think
there?
He's a homer.
I think so too. 5A, he's got Wood defeating Harrisburg.
Another homer pick.
Another homer, absolutely, absolutely. 6A, Prep versus Pine Richland. Said Pine Richland could pull out an upset here.
Could.
What? Think so?
Wow,
Really?
so he's hedging his bet.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
me and Ari's picks are almost similar besides...
Did he call you before the show?
Yeah, probably. But Imhotep beats Cathedral Prep. I mean, we're similar picks. I mean... Ours got Newman Goretti with the hot streak, having the best season ever in Newman history. So, I mean, I love that pick. Middletown in 3A. Who do I have for 3A? Let me go check right back. Scranton Prep. He got Middletown sneaking out against Wyomissing. Wyomissing's a stout program down there that has some championships under their belt. 4A, Cathedral Prep and Imhotep. I had Imhotep winning, and then Wood defeating Harrisburg. I had that as well. And Prep versus Pine Richland. Pine Richland could pull the upset, but yeah, Ryan could make it to the championship. Anything could happen, but Prep's got that on lock, Ari.
I don't think those are really bad picks. I think we're just having some fun with Ari. I don't think those are bad picks at all. Those are some really great picks, actually, Ari. And I'm just saying that because he's our boss. So really great picks, though. But I think we've got some exciting playoff action coming up.
It's only going to get better.
It's only going to get better as the weeks come on, and we're going to make sure to be here, bring you all of this great action from high school football across the entire state of Pennsylvania. We're going to wrap things up, but a couple of announcements before we go. Make sure that you catch all the great action that the Sports Fan Base Network is bringing you on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel every week. You've got great shows like the aforementioned Ari Bluestein's Varsity Voice, the flagship show for the Sports Fan Base Network. And you also have one of our favorite shows, guys, do it with me, In the Goal! He's still going. That's Steven Shriver's show. Make sure that you check out That's Jack Cap, Ryan Haney, and of course, Steven Schreiber is one of our favorites. So make sure you guys check that out. But bring it back to In the Trenches. Make sure that you like, share, comment, post, and argue with my co-host right on the message boards there.
Argue with Mike.
Argue with Mike. Yeah, absolutely. Argue with Mike.
You won't win, ever.
Absolutely, you will not win. No, it'll be fun though. But please, we love seeing the comments. We love seeing the shares. Thank you so much for that. We will be back next Monday and every Monday. We'll be back next Monday and every Monday. But in the meantime, check out our podcast. You can get us right at the iTunes store. You can catch up on In the Trenches on past episodes. You can see how wrong we were or how right we were in the weeks previous. So make sure you go to the iTunes store. Search for the Sports Fan Base Network. You won't only find In the Trenches. You will find In the Trenches. You'll find Varsity Voice. You'll find In the Goal. And hey, when you get to the iTunes store, make sure to give us a 5-star rating. It is what helps us tremendously. 5 stars, nothing less. So please do that. But in the meantime, if you can't get to the iTunes store and you want to check out some great articles and look at some of our other shows, you can go right to the website, www.thesfbn.com. You can check out our broadcast schedule. You can look at what else is coming up, and you can even look at our bio pages. I checked out our bio pages. They don't look half bad. I looked at them. They don't look bad, in case I forgot who you guys were. But make sure you get to thesfbn.com. But in the meantime, we are going to say farewell. So for Corey Sharp, for Mike Palmer, for our wonderful producer, Julian Bellman, for without him, none of this is possible. Thank you so much. Oh, and Steven Schreiber, too. He's our associate producer here.
For Steve not doing my makeup.
For Steven Schreiber not doing any of our makeup, and I don't really know what he does, but he's here every week. Thank you so much to everyone. Remember, stay classy and be good to each other. See you later.